Sandra, An Inconvenient Minority. That is the name of a new book by our next guest, and how author Kenny Xu refers to Asian Americans. As an Asian American himself, Xu explains how he's considered to be an inconvenient minority to the critical race theory narrative. Let's bring in author Kenny Xu. He's also the president of Color Us United. Kenny, great to see you today. You said in an interview with FoxNews.com, Asian Americans prove that critical race theory is not true, cannot be true. Make that case.
Well, critical race theory asserts, and I talk about this in my book, An Inconvenient Minority, but critical race theory asserts that the world in America is divided into a racial caste system, whites on the top, blacks on the bottom, but they have no idea what to do with Asian Americans, because Asian Americans are a minority. You know, they have been discriminated against in this country, and yet they succeed and they achieve. And that I think inconveniences the critical race theory narrative today, and that's why I wrote this book.
You make the argument that if America is systemically racist, as many proponents of critical race theory believe, how is it that Asian Americans have flourished and in many cases overtaken whites in terms of level of education and socioeconomic status? So how is it? How is it that Asian Americans flourish in this country?
It has to do with culture. You know, Asian Americans study twice as many hours as the average American. Today, we always talk about the Tiger Mother. You know, that was Amy Chua's famous book. But it's not just Tiger Mother parenting. It's also strong two-parent family structures. It's a strong value on education. It's a love for hard work and for meritocracy. And that's at stake with critical race theory, because critical race theory is anti-meritocratic. It believes that merit is racist. So if policies like Harvard's discrimination against Asian Americans are allowed, guess who loses out? Well, it's the hardworking Asian Americans that work so hard to get their spot.
Which brings me to my next point, because we now see the emergence, Harvard and other places, of attempts to limit Asian American enrollment in some of these prestigious educational institutions. That would appear to be the very definition of systemic racism, to limit the number of people who can get in on a merit-based program in order to keep up levels of enrollment of other people.
You know, I analyzed 90,000 pages of Harvard admissions data. And stretching back for 30 years, Asian Americans have been kept at a cap at admissions between 15 and 18% of the student body. That has only recently changed. And, you know, Harvard's own estimate said that if Asians were not discriminated against, they would be 43% of the student body. Now, people are saying, well, is that too many Asians? Well, I say, I'm indignant at that claim. I'm indignant at the claim that Asians are all the same kind of person, they're all the same kind of faceless, test-taking robot with no personality. We have to look past race in this country. And I wrote this book hopefully to heal America and to bring Americans together in service of meritocracy.
So I asked Vivek Ramaswamy this question yesterday, and let me ask you as well.
Yeah.
Have you personally experienced racism in this country, and what did you do to keep it in perspective?
Well, I have to say, America has been very good to me. Yes, I've experienced racism, especially, you know, from the Ivy Leagues when they judge Asian Americans as low personalities. That's what Harvard does. But you know what? America has been very good to me, and America has been good to every person in every of this country. One of the things in my book that I talk about is this guy named Bin Vo. He's a Vietnamese American. He came to this country from Vietnam, and he was the instant he landed here. You know, a police officer picked him up and sent him home, and that was an act of charity that he could not find in his home country. That's the goodness of America, and I want to highlight that.
Interesting. Kenny Xu, the book is called An Inconvenient Minority. Thank you for joining us today. Good to see you. Appreciate it.